Welcome again to a discussion on conflict management. Conflict management. Today we're going to look at keeping conflict under control. We have established that conflict is normal. We cannot avoid it in every human organization and gathering. But there's a way we can keep it under control. Now, each person in the conflict needs to calm down to objectively understand what the other person is saying. When conflict breaks out, we hardly hear each other out. Everybody will be hammering on his position and be justifying his position. But each person needs to calm down and then see things the way the other person is seeing it. Then he will know why the other person is behaving the way he's behaving. Now, sometimes this doesn't happen naturally. The mediator, the person who is going to broker peace, who is going to bring solution to the conflict, is the one. You must be able to bring the two people to a level of thorough understanding of what the other person is saying. In fact, we may even have both of them to document their position extensively, their grievances and why they are standing where they are standing, and then we give each other to take time to study. Now, each of them will now understand why the other person is actually behaving the way he's behaving. And most of the time, we will realize that when you put yourself in the position of the other person, based on all those things he is thinking about, you will behave the same way. And so this can be a very good ground of starting to bring the conflict under control. Now, the next thing is confrontation. Confrontation is necessary. Now, confrontation does not necessarily mean making noise. Confrontation is just pointing out the truth. Sometimes when two people are in a conflict and they are telling different people their story, then you realize that in many of the major conflicts, the major proponents have not been brought to the table to sit down and face each other. If both of them are brought to face each other in the presence of everybody, then those issues are ironed out one after the other. Then you will realize that even if anyone is telling lie, everybody will know. And so confrontation is necessary. It doesn't mean they come to bust each other to fight and all. There are times that they get to that stage. They are to mediators are to separate, but there is a need for people to sit down, face each other, so that they can iron out their grievances. And if anybody just cook anything that is not true up, that will be a very good ground for the other person to come up, with open situation of how things happened, and it will help in resolving the crisis. Finally, win-win situation is still the best way of keeping the conflict under control. If it is win-lose, whichever way, a loser is looking for an opportunity to fight again. So there must always be a way to make it a win-win situation. It may not be 50-50, but let everybody grab something. With that, it is then we can say that the conflict is over. But if it is conquering 100% to 0, and the other person is battered, is conquered, is on the ground, and is keeping quiet, no, conflict is still coming. When it gathers enough momentum, it will fight again. So the Lord will help us in Jesus' name. Now, there are double-minded people. The most difficult people to deal with in conflict. Those who say this today, and when you ask them the same story tomorrow, another story. So they are not, even when you ask them in the course of solving the problem, what do you want? They don't know. And so if you think that what they want is A, and you give them A, tomorrow the story will change. They will say, no, it's actually B they want. So double-minded people are terrible people to settle when there is crisis. In fact, even the Bible does not like double-minded people. God wants us to be straightforward And every believer should learn not to be double-minded. You should double-faced. Let your yes be yes, let your no be no. That's what Jesus said. And that is going to be a very good one for every one of us. Now, Paul told Timothy, as a pastor, young pastor, that you're going to face a lot of conflict, but avoid unnecessary argument. For as much as a mediator can, as much as a pastor can, avoid argument. Argument, most of the time, does not solve problem. It's endless. Because those who are involved in argument are not looking for peace. They just want to win the argument. And somebody can win the argument without winning the peace. So the mediator must be very careful. In fact, the pastor trying to solve problem in the church may be dragged into argument, and then the whole thing will be messed up. So we must avoid unnecessary argument and then face the very reason why we want to solve the problem. Now, let's look at 3 examples that are given in our books of conflict situation. That was a church, about 1,000 in attendance, and all of them realized that they needed a music pastor. And once they agreed, the pastor went ahead, interviewed a young man who is a music minister, and employed him. So when the music minister came, he was singing more of contemporary songs. And the church was actually growing. Young people were joining, and everybody thought everything was going on well until the elders in the church insisted that the music minister has to go, that they needed another person. And so the pastor was worried. What did he do? They began to bring different excuses. They didn't even go into the main thing. They began to bring this one, bring the other one, bring the other one. But when the pastor calmed down and was able to follow them gradually, he realized that the main problem was that he was too contemporary. And many of these elders prefer classical hymns and songs. So that was a conflict situation. How did they solve it? When the pastor got to know what the problem was, then he brought the music minister and then intimated him on what the situation was, and then the man began to blend the music. So he would sing classical, he would sing contemporary, and he was able to meet the needs of all the groups in the church, and the conflict was solved. Every other thing they were saying about him just fizzled out once the major problem was solved. Number 2, there was a church also, they saw that they were not having youth, and they were in the city center. So they invited a youth pastor to pastor the youth and teenagers. And so he began to come up with some different contemporary programs to get the youths, the drug addicts, the prostitutes, all kinds of young people in the town. And so the church was booming, people were trooping in. But many of these people came in dressed up in an offensive way, because he was just bringing all kinds of, believing that they will be discipled and they will become Christians. Now, the parents in the church felt that this new set of people that are coming to church will corrupt their children. And so they brought up all kinds of issues against the youth pastor and insisted that he has to go. And so the pastor investigated. He was able to dig to the root of the matter, that the main issue was that they were afraid that this new entrance will influence their own children negatively. And so they brought the pastor, told him their fears, and then there was another set of people who were taking care of the youth before the pastor came. They were removed for the pastor. So they were also fueling it to show that they were doing better before than now. So the pastor, and when the pastor came, he didn't carry them along. He was just doing his own program. So he was now guided to carry those people along. Raise more counseling team, and everybody was happy. The problem was solved. as those people were coming into church, they now had a proper discipleship program that guide them on the code of conduct of the church. And so the parents were no longer afraid. More youths were still coming. Their lives were changing, and the problem was solved. The third one was a church borrowed money to build, which they paid for 20 years. Now, before they finished paying the debt, the church was already in a state that needed to be repackaged, rebuilt again. And so those people sensed that the church may eventually borrow another money to rebuild the church again. They will pay for so many years. So they came up with an argument that the church supposed to be putting money on missions, not building. And so the church got divided into two. A group was saying nothing is bad with building. The other group saying no, mission is our assignment, and it was tearing the church apart. So the pastor was able to dig deeper and realize that their main fear is that the first debt took them 20 years to pay. And then if they go into another one now, who knows when they will finish paying. So he was able to get their confidence. They found a middle ground, voted money to missions, and all of them faced the building together, and the conflict was solved. So when we are faced with this type of conflict, what do? Number one, don't run away. Don't dodge it. Don't resign and run away. There are conflicts, problem everywhere. And so number two, listen to all opinions. Don't be biased. Even the one that looks foolish, listen. And number three, be in charge. Understand the culture of your audience. Every audience, every congregation has different culture. Understand it. So when you understand it, it's going to help. And then number four, dig deeper to know what actually led to the conflict. Not what people are saying. There is something underneath that actually led to the conflict. And so we need to dig deeper to understand that. And then number five, be sensitive to the emotion of others. The way you feel that it should be done, that's the same way the other person is feeling it should be done. So you need to be very sensitive to their own emotion as well as that of yourself. And number six, keep issues separate. For the fact that somebody misbehaved on another matter last time does not mean we should refer to it now. Something like, that's the same way you behave when the other pastor was here. That's the same way they say you are. No. We don't need to go there. So we need to separate issues. And number seven, we need to involve people from both sides. If we are forming any committee over the conflict, let both sides be represented because of confidence. That is very, very important. And number eight, we must be objective. Objectivity on both sides, and objectivity on the part of the mediator is very important. And then number nine, in case the pastor has lost the people, you need an external mediator to come and intervene. Because once a group believes that you are biased as a pastor, no matter your verdict, they will not believe it. So let an external person come and handle the matter. So with this, we will say that the church is living in peace. And then we need to also make the people to know God. We need to make them to know God, to keep God in the mind, irrespective of what the issues are. So that is going to help, and the church will be moving forward. We're going to continue from here.